Welcome to this Tutor to You Criminology video for WJEC Level 3 Applied Criminology, focusing on Assessment Criteria 2.3, looking at sociological theories of criminality. In this video, we're going to focus on subcultural theories. Subcultural theories are usually recognized as being part of structural theories of criminality, as a subculture is a group that is formed in response to the norms and values of society, and in particular, society's unequal structure. A subculture is a group with its own norms and values that are different to the rest of society, and these theories are usually associated with functionalist explanations of crime, particularly the work of both Albert Cohen and Cloward and Ohlin, whose inspiration is drawn from another theory we've covered in this series, Merton's strain theory. Subcultures often adopt norms and values that are in opposition to mainstream society, and as we'll see in this video, are a result of blocked opportunities to success. Our first theory is that of Albert Cohen's status frustration. Cohen examined the way in which young males particularly were denied opportunities in society to succeed. Low educational performance, limited employability skills, and high unemployment meant that the young males in Cohen's study struggled to achieve the societal goals of financial success, or Merton's American dream. As a result, they were denied status in society and looked to their peers to provide them with an alternative status. Being frustrated with an inability to achieve status through legitimate means, members of subcultures would subvert social norms and values to obtain status from deviant and criminal behaviours. Cohen referred to this as an alternate status hierarchy, one where members of a subculture were able to gain status not afforded to them through ordinary means. Cloward and Ohlin developed this idea further, suggesting that whilst young males were typically denied legitimate opportunities, they were provided with illegitimate opportunities for status, depending upon the types of criminality that existed in the areas they lived in. These opportunity subcultures provided boys with a means of achieving status based upon the existence of networks of criminality. There were three distinct forms of opportunity subculture that Cloward and Ohlin identified: criminal subcultures, conflict subcultures, and retreatist subcultures. The first of these, criminal subcultures, were present in areas where there is a long-standing history of organised criminal networks. In these areas, young boys would become apprentices in the first instance, providing low-level errands such as delivering drugs or stolen merchandise to customers. If they showed the right skills, attitudes, and abilities, they would then progress through the organisation. This can be seen in organised networks of criminal activity, for example county lines drug gangs, that recruit young people to courier drugs to customers. It can also be seen in involvement in more traditional forms of organised crime, such as mafias. Young boys would be recruited, and as their career developed, they would be awarded different ranks and territories to monitor. A second form of subculture identified by Cloward and Ohlin was conflict subcultures. These existed in areas where there was no existing criminal structure and were often typified by clashes between different groups over territory. These formed largely in areas of transition, whereby people moved in and out frequently, usually those new to the city or town, and were marked in some instances by differences in ethnic backgrounds. Their conflict was less likely to be over financial gains, but rather owning territory and identifying it as an area they controlled. Examples of this included clashes between different Hispanic groups in the USA in the 1950s and the gang warfare between the Bloods and the Crips in Los Angeles in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The final form of subculture identified by Cloward and Ohlin were retreatist subcultures. These groups developed attitudes similar to Merton's retreatists, being marginalised from other forms of opportunity subculture and banding together through access to drugs and alcohol. These subcultures were typified by addiction, homelessness, and petty crime, according to Cloward and Ohlin, rejecting the idea of achieving status and being loosely organised in comparison to criminal and conflict subcultures. Often located in inner city areas, a lack of neighbourhood bonds led members to retreatist subcultures to fall between the cracks, neither associating with criminal nor conflict subcultures. In evaluating subcultural theories, it's worth noticing that they examine how the unequal structure of society leads to people rejecting mainstream norms and values and adopting alternative ways of maintaining their self-esteem and self-worth. They are also useful in explaining non-utilitarian crimes. Furthermore, evidence of low educational achievement can be linked to criminality, particularly as many people with criminal records have been permanently excluded from education at one point. However, there are limitations. It fails to explain why individuals commit more crime than groups, and it assumes that most crime is committed by young males as they look to obtain status. In contemporary society, there are many alternatives to education and crime in order to obtain status, and subcultural theories fail to explain how this occurs.